What's up, cool people? How's everybody doing? Welcome to another Thursday live stream. The first one of the new year, and also the first one that is essentially going to be a combo of what used to be my kind of split ideas for different streams. Um, in case you missed yesterday's big announcement on my YouTube channel, go check that out for more details. But what's immediately relevant to the live stream here is that I okay, so in order to have the full story, I am going to be part of a D&D campaign with a couple of other Christian live streamers. I say a couple. It's like I think four or five of us in total participating in this. At least five if you count the DM, that's for sure. But anyway, so yeah, we're doing this D&D campaign thing, and because of that going on Saturdays, just with the way the timing worked for everybody involved, that was kind of the day that it sort of had to be. So yeah, because that's happening on Saturdays after my work shift, that requires the Saturday streams of mine to be shorter because they have to be after that. Thus, I figured it might be a better idea, rather than try to cram in Bible study and a little bit of hangout gaming time afterwards every week. After that stuff, I figured it might be a better idea to just move all of the planned recordings for the week to my Thursday streams. So that means these streams, for the foreseeable future, will be combo Bible study, starting off with that, and then on to like the Let's Play recordings, like I've been doing on Thursdays. Those just have to come after the Bible study now. And if there's anything I don't get done on Thursday that was planned, then I'll just push that back to Saturday after the whole D&D thing. And yes, the D&D stuff will be recorded and published eventually. It may or may not be streamed live. I'm not 100% sure on that. But it's at the very least going to be recorded and edited into some videos that get published later on. So I'll give you the full details whenever that comes out. The main thing I know is that the title of the like campaign or whatever that we're doing is called Shards of Atlantis. I think this might actually be an original creation of the DM. Not totally sure on that, but in any case, it's, you know, it's going to be an interesting thing, especially if you're into D&D. So yeah, because of that happening, I had to shift some stuff around with my stream schedule, and I figured I'd just, work on all the planned recordings on Thursdays as much as I can, and then on Saturdays, anything that's left over from the Thursdays, I will do then. Otherwise, it's just going to be hop on, have some chill time, playing a game casually and engaging with chat. One last thing that I would like to double check on my computer here before I get too much further with the stream. I've been having some weird, I don't know why, every once in a while, my computer just randomly decides to change the volume setting on my microphone. So I realized I probably did a stream, at least one stream, and a couple of recorded videos with the microphone down to about 75%. which means it wasn't really picking things up as loudly. I probably sounded quieter during the stream that I did that. Fortunately, with the power of editing, the later videos that came out of that I could just bump up the volume on those sections. Anywho, okay, I checked on that. It's all good. So yeah, going to be starting off with Bible study today, and then moving into EDF Insect Armageddon, because that's where I'm at in my back and forth rotation schedule thing, whatever you want to call it. So let me just get Twitch chat and activity stuff moved on over to my other monitor, so I can at least have a chance of seeing it while I'm reading Bible stuff. Okay. You know what? I feel like I want to be just a little bit further over here. Anyway. Okay, I guess that's good enough. So, yeah. Bible study. Now, for anybody watching this live, and normally, and would be expecting just gaming stuff, yeah, we're starting off with some Bible study first. And I've been just reading through the Bible, start to finish, and just going like one chapter at a time, basically. Well, 2 chapters a week, essentially. And where we're at right now is Joshua chapter 23. I'll actually be wrapping up the book of Joshua in today's stream then. So, yeah. And I'll get into context here in a moment, but it helps if I also record that for the later videos. Speaking of recording things, I am also working on, I downloaded another plugin extension thing for OBS that might allow me a separate recording scene, so to speak. So I might be able to have my live stream and my recordings look different from each other eventually, but I'm still working on it. I also got somebody working on some overlays for the streams, so it's going to be a little more important to have them different after that happens. But anywho. Okay, Bible study time. Here we go. All right. So, we are looking at Joshua chapter 23. So, the book of Joshua has basically taken us through the conquering of the promised land, or at least the majority of it, by the Israelites. And then they divided up the land that was conquered amongst them, and then established a couple of other special cities and areas for things like cities of refuge, places for the Levites to live, which the Levites basically took care of a lot of the temple duties and sacrifices and things like that. Although the temple wasn't a thing yet, it was the tabernacle at this point, but I digress. Same basic idea. So now I think everybody in the actual land of Israel at this point is kind of settled back into where they all, or not back, but is settled into their respective tribal territories. And everything's basically done with settling into the land that God had promised them and their ancestors. So going by the heading here, we're about to get some final words from Joshua. So here we go. Joshua chapter 23. The years passed, and the Lord had given the people of Israel rest from all their enemies. Joshua, who was now very old, called together all the elders, leaders, judges, and officers of Israel. Very old man. You have seen everything the Lord your God has done for you during my lifetime. The Lord your God has fought for you against your enemies. I have allotted to you as your homeland all the land of the nations yet unconquered, as well as the land of those we have already conquered, from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. This land will be yours, for the Lord your God will himself drive out all the people living there now. You will take possession of their land, just as the Lord your God promised you. Okay, pausing there real quick. So, Joshua's old, not exactly surprising after all that's happened. And there is still, by his own admission, land that, all the land of the nations yet unconquered. So there were still some other people groups living within the promised land that the Israelites had yet to defeat or drive out or take over their land. Because there were some people they didn't necessarily drive out completely, but, they basically, took them on as servants of a sort. Pretty much, I guess it was, some of the peoples that did not want to fight against the Israelites decided, all right, you know what, just take the land. We don't want to fight you. We don't think we'd stand a chance. We'd rather be your servants than die. But there were others who they had yet to really encounter and or push back or out or subdue. But there was a lot of land they had already conquered. So all of the area that I guess had been promised as their possession, so to speak, by God, they divvied up the entirety of that land, even what hadn't been conquered yet. Also, footnote there, Mediterranean Sea, Hebrew just says the Great Sea, which is the same thing, essentially. It's just different name for it, because that was by far the largest sea that they would have really had any sort of proximity to. Sometimes you even see it referred to as just the sea. Kind of how we might refer to the ocean, generally speaking. Sometimes we even say the sea nowadays. But for geographical purposes, this translation will often still refer to that as the Mediterranean Sea because it was the largest one near there. Anyway, so Joshua essentially reassuring them that, yes, there is land that still hasn't been conquered, but God is still powerful and still with you, and he will give you the ability to take possession of this land. So, anyway, verse 6. So be very careful to follow everything Moses wrote in the book of instruction. Do not deviate from it, turning either to the right or to the left. Make sure you do not associate with the other people still remaining in the land. Do not even mention the names of their gods, much less swear by them or serve them or worship them. Rather, cling tightly to the Lord your God, as you have done until now. For the Lord has driven out great and powerful nations for you, and no one has yet been able to defeat you. Each one of you will put to flight 1,000 of the enemy, for the Lord your God fights for you, just as he has promised. So be very careful to love the Lord your God. Okay, so adding on to Joshua saying that, all right, don't worry, God will give you this land as your possession. There's a little bit of a caveat to it, though, because it's like, okay, if you follow God's instructions as given to us by Moses, then God will be with you, and you will conquer these lands. If you don't, it might not turn out so well, but I think we're about to get into that. And definitely for sure, don't like start worshiping other gods or idols or whatever that other people in the area worship, because those haven't been helping you thus far. Those have not given you victory against all these other people groups. It's only the Lord, our God. And in fact, we have been helped so much by our God, and will continue to be if we follow him, that, each one of you will put flight to 1,000 of the enemy. One person causing 1,000 to flee is what that's saying, which is absolutely crazy. Nobody, no regular human being should stand a chance in a fight against 1,000 people. Unless there's like a massive difference in, like weaponry and or armor or what have you. But still, those are normally ridiculous odds. And yet, with God's help, that is possible. Not only possible, but Joshua is saying it will happen as long as they follow the Lord. But then we get to verse 12. But if you turn away from him and cling to the customs of the survivors of these nations remaining among you, and if you intermarry with them, then know for certain that the Lord your God will no longer drive them out of your land. Instead, they will be a snare and a trap to you, a whip for your backs and thorny brambles in your eyes, and you will vanish from this good land the Lord your God has given you. Yeah. So there's the alternative, which is not good. So they didn't necessarily always kill every single person of a particular other people group whenever they conquered the lands. But they still were not... the reason for not intermarrying with them was just because, being in such a close relationship with someone, there tends to be a significant amount of influence over each other, and, things that you do tend to kind of just be affected by, what the other person puts their time and attention towards. Just a natural thing that happens in marriage. And then obviously it's not going to go well for God's people if they then, turn their attention away from the Lord because of intermarrying with these other people, or by any other means, worshiping their gods. And then we get to verse 14. Still Joshua speaking. This is all Joshua speaking. Soon I will die, going the way of everything on earth. Deep in your hearts you know that every promise of the Lord your God has come true. Not a single one has failed. But as surely as the Lord your God has given you the good things he promised, he will also bring disaster on you if you disobey him. He will completely destroy you from this good land he has given you. If you break the covenant of the Lord your God by worshiping and serving other gods, his anger will burn against you, and you will quickly vanish from the good land he has given you. Yeah, so more encouragement to the same effect. Also, I think he mentioned vanishing from the land previously, but there were multiple prophecies essentially given by Moses / by God through Moses or other things like that, just spelling out all the different things that would happen if and when they turn away from the Lord. And that included being treated as slaves, getting exiled from their homeland, which would be where they're living in this moment that Joshua is speaking to them. That all sorts of crazy bad things would happen. That they would be, starving. That they would do all sorts of crazy things just to stay alive. And all essentially because of them disobeying him. And yet there was still, assurance in the midst of that if they sincerely turned back to the Lord, that things would get better. So yeah. Essentially, Joshua's final words come down to, all right, I'm getting old. I can't necessarily lead you in all these things anymore. So just know, make sure to continue following the Lord and the instructions of Moses so that things can continue to go well with you. Otherwise, it's not going to be good. There's not really a whole lot else to add on to that. This does still in some slight way wind up being a bit prophetic. Or really, you would think it should have just been obvious to them at this point, because the times that, the prior generations had turned away from God, things went poorly. Or even the times when certain people amongst them turned away from God, it went poorly. But when they followed the Lord completely, it went well. So it should be obvious at this point. And yet, still reminding them, because, Joshua, who was their leader at this point, their primary leader anyway, was about to die, and he wants to make sure that the things that were guiding him all along the way, he continues to, that he imparts that upon the rest of the Israelites in hopes that they continue to follow that way of thinking. But yeah, I guess that does it for Joshua 23. Kind of short chapter. All right, let me get some water here. Something about this morning, I'm just a little extra thirsty. Next chapter is going to be a bit longer. But yeah, once we get through this, then the book of Joshua will be done, and then I can move us along to gaming stuff. But, like, as a Christian, this is more important to me than video games. Yes, I enjoy video games a lot, but this is more important. Alrighty. So, let's keep moving along here. Alright. Joshua chapter 24, the final chapter of the book of Joshua. Sorry for hitting the mic there. So, Promised Land was conquered. They divided up the territories amongst the tribes. They've kind of settled in now. Joshua gave his final parting words in the last chapter, basically saying that, all right, well, I'm about to die. So just so y'all know, make sure to keep following God. Because if you don't, it'll be bad. It'll go well if you do, but it'll turn bad. Way bad if you don't. So, yeah. And then we're here in chapter 24. So let's see what happens. Then Joshua summoned all the tribes of Israel to Shechem, including their elders, leaders, judges, and officers. So they came and presented themselves to God. Joshua said to the people, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Long ago your ancestors, including Terah, the father of Abraham and Nahor, lived beyond the Euphrates River, and they worshipped other gods. But I took your ancestor Abraham from the land beyond the Euphrates and led him into the land of Canaan. I gave him many descendants through his son Isaac. To Isaac I gave Jacob and Esau. To Esau I gave the mountains of Seir, while Jacob and his children went down into Egypt." So, seems like we're getting a bit of a history lesson now from Joshua. Probably, in a way, kind of reinforcing what he said in the previous chapter about, God making good on his promises and, basically that things would go well if they continue following the Lord. Specifically, we're starting really where the promises of God started for this people group, and that was with Abraham. Because the initial promise was made to Abraham, the promise of living in this land, which the Israelites just took over and have essentially conquered. Maybe not 100%, but they have conquered and settled into. That land was promised originally to Abraham and his descendants. So, because of that promise, not any promise just to this generation of Israelites or anything like that, because of that promise from way long ago, that God is still being faithful to follow up on, that is why these people have the land that they have. And that land also just happens to mostly, maybe not 100%, but mostly be what is modern day Israel as well. So anyone wondering why there's, a claim among Jews that this land belongs to them, here you go. Okay, footnote at the Euphrates River, Hebrew just says the river. It was probably one of the larger rivers of the area. Also, it was one of the first four that were mentioned way back in Genesis at like the whole creation story. But so Abraham had lived beyond the Euphrates River, it says, but then God brought him into Canaan and then basically gave him that promise that I had talked about a little while ago of him and his descendants becoming a great people and living in that land of Canaan. All right, I'm going to continue reading along before I get into too much other explanation of some of this stuff that could be important to know for context, but it might also get into it here a little bit later. So, verse 5. Then I sent Moses and Aaron, and I brought terrible plagues on Egypt, and afterward I brought you out as a free people. But when your ancestors arrived at the Red Sea, the Egyptians chased after you with chariots and charioteers. When your ancestors cried out to the Lord, I put darkness between you and the Egyptians. I brought the sea crashing down on the Egyptians, drowning them. With your very own eyes you saw what I did. Then you lived in the wilderness for many years. Okay, so why would God be bringing plagues down upon Egypt and whatnot? Well, okay, so it mentions Jacob and his children going down into Egypt. They went down there because of famine, but Egypt had plenty because of Jacob's one son, Joseph, who had wound up there through seemingly unfortunate circumstances, but kind of worked his way up, for lack of a better way to put it, by following God, worked his way up through the chain of command and essentially became Pharaoh's right-hand man and in charge of overseeing, preparing for the famine that had been revealed to Pharaoh in a dream that Joseph interpreted. Anyway, so that was why Jacob and his children went down into Egypt. But after a while, new pharaohs came around who didn't know Joseph or any of, his family and saw them as a threat and thus essentially enslaved them. But then, those people cried out to God to deliver them. And that's why we have Moses and Aaron being sent and God bringing terrible plagues upon Egypt. So anyway, then God's people were able to leave Egypt, cross the Red Sea, and escape Egyptian captivity. Footnote there, Hebrew says the Sea of Reeds instead of the Red Sea. Same thing, different name, basically. And then they lived in the wilderness for many years, partially because of their own doing and not trusting God enough. But let's just move on to verse 8 here, because there's still quite a bit to cover. Finally, I brought you into the land of the Amorites on the east side of the Jordan. They fought against you, but I destroyed them before you. I gave you victory over them, and you took possession of their land. Then Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab, started a war against Israel. He summoned Balaam, son of Beor, to curse you, but I would not listen to him. Instead, I made Balaam bless you, and so I rescued you from Balak. Okay, so that was how they got control of some of the land east of the Jordan River that then got allotted to 2.5 of the tribes. And but that happened after the roughly 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. In the wilderness. Because, long story short, when they first scouted out the promised land, they were too scared to go in and conquer it. They didn't trust God enough. So, God, I don't know if you'd say cursed them, but God essentially punished them by way of having them wander around the wilderness for 40 years until that, generation that didn't trust him died out. So yeah. They defeated those kings, took over that land east of the Jordan, and then we get to verse 11. When you crossed the Jordan River and came to Jericho, the men of Jericho fought against you, as did the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. But I gave you victory over them, and I sent terror ahead of you to drive out the 2 kings of the Amorites. It was not your swords or bows that brought you victory. I gave you land you had not worked on, and I gave you towns you did not build, the towns where you are now living. I gave you vineyards and olive groves for food, though you did not plant them. Again, this is all the Lord God speaking. So they crossed the Jordan River, fought a bunch of other kings, defeated them too, with God's help. Footnote at terror. Often rendered the hornet. Meaning of the Hebrew is uncertain, though. But it sounds like whether just actual fear, plain and simple, or some sort of, plague of a sort. God worked ahead of time a little bit to weaken these other people like the Amorites in order to, help his chosen people, the Israelites, come back to the land of Canaan that had been promised to Abraham and settle there. Okay, verse 14. So fear the Lord and serve him wholeheartedly. Put away forever the idols your ancestors worshipped when they lived beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt. Serve the Lord alone. But if you refuse to serve the Lord, then choose today whom you will serve. Would you prefer the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates? Or will it be the gods of the Amorites in whose land you now live? But as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. So, this part might be more so Joshua speaking. The previous stuff was more so Joshua speaking what the Lord was telling him, it seemed. Because, the first person of, I gave this territory to Jacob or Esau, or, I put darkness between you and the Egyptians. That's God in the I statements there. But in this little paragraph, as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. The Lord's not going to say that he's serving himself. That doesn't really make too much sense. Also, God doesn't really have a family, per se. So, it would make more sense for this paragraph, or not this one, starting in verse 14 here, for that to be kind of back to just Joshua speaking, perhaps inspired by God. But he's essentially saying that, he and his family will continue to serve the Lord. The others have a choice, but just know how things have gone with these other gods. Again, kind of reinforcing what he said in the previous chapter. Anyway, verse 16. The people replied, "We would never abandon the Lord and serve other gods. For the Lord our God is the one who rescued us and our ancestors from slavery in the land of Egypt. He performed mighty miracles before our very eyes. As we traveled through the wilderness among our enemies, he preserved and the other nations living here in the land. So we too will serve the Lord, for he alone is our God." Okay. Pretty self-explanatory. Other people saying that they are also committed to following the Lord. essentially just as a reply to Joshua's quote-unquote choice that he has given them. So then verse 19, then Joshua warned the people, you are not able to serve the Lord, for he is a holy and jealous God. He will not forgive your rebellion and your sins. If you abandon the Lord and serve other gods, he will turn against you and destroy you, even though he has been so good to you. But the people answered Joshua, no, we will serve the Lord. You are a witness to your own decision, Joshua said. You have chosen to serve the Lord. Yes, they replied. We are witnesses to what we have said. All right then, Joshua said, destroy the idols among you and turn your hearts to the Lord, the God of Israel. And the people replied to Joshua, we will serve the Lord our God. We will obey him alone. So, bit more back and forth, just confirming that, like, all right, y'all sure about this? You sure you want to serve God? Okay, well, make sure you get rid of all these other idols and stuff, because those are not the Lord our God, and we should not really have those in our midst. Definitely shouldn't be worshiping them, so get rid of them. Now this whole, you are not able to serve the Lord, I wonder a little bit at what exactly he meant by that. But, I mean, really, by our own will and, thinking and strength alone, without any other influence, we're incapable of at least perfectly following God. Like, we mess up. We do things we're not supposed to. So I'm thinking it's, leaning into that idea some. Especially with the next sentence being, he will not forgive your rebellion and your sins. And if you abandon the Lord and serve other gods, he'll turn against you. So basically, I think Joshua is really just giving further warning here to, like, okay, like, you say you're choosing to serve the Lord, so don't be surprised whenever you mess up, and especially when you turn away, don't be surprised when things go poorly then, and God turns against you. You're saying you've committed to him, but, if and when that is not the case, it's not going to look good. It's not going to go well in general. Anyway. And then the back and forth with them confirming for sure that that's what they're wanting to do. Okay, verse 25. So Joshua made a covenant with the people that day at Shechem, committing them to follow the decrees and regulations of the Lord. Joshua recorded these things in the book of God's instructions. As a reminder of their agreement, he took a huge stone and rolled it beneath the terebinth tree beside the tabernacle of the Lord. Joshua said to all the people, this stone has heard everything the Lord said to us. It will be a witness to testify against you if you go back on your word to God. Then Joshua sent all the people away to their homelands. Okay. Sorry, looking at chat real quick. Yeah, this is something that's changing now because of the whole D&D campaign thing and altering my stream schedule because of that. I have almost wrapped up this bit of Bible study, though. Once I finish up this chapter, then I'll be starting to play EDF. But I gotta say, stream is not doing too hot. I don't know what the deal is, but I'm dropping frames like crazy again. And I have changed nothing in the settings, by the way. Like, this is exactly as it was for the past few streams that all worked pretty much fine. And as soon as I say that, the connection thing seems to be okay again. Hopefully it stays like that. At least for the most part. All right, so the Israelites agree that they're following God, that they're committing themselves to follow God. And so Joshua takes note of this, literally records it in a book, and then also puts a huge stone at a certain spot to remind them that, all right, like, this stone was here when we made this commitment. It has heard everything. Whenever people of future generations go back on this, they should be able to look at this rock and be reminded of the commitment. And if not, quote, it will be a witness to testify against you. Anyway, more looking at chat, project update, not really anything, just more ideas. I mean, idea progress is still progress, though. Anyway. All right. Another little subsection here in the chapter, but verse 29. After this, Joshua son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110. They buried him in the land he had been allocated at Timnath-Serah in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gash. Gaash? I don't know. The people of Israel served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and of the elders who outlived him, those who had personally experienced all that the Lord had done for Israel. The bones of Joseph, which the Israelites had brought along with them when they left Egypt, were buried at Shechem, in the plot of land Jacob had bought for the sons of Hamor for 100 pieces of silver. This land was located in the territory allocated to the descendants of Joseph. Eleazar, son of Aaron, also died. He was buried in the hill country of Ephraim, in the town of Gibeah, which had been given to his son Phinehas. So, unsurprising that Joshua gets buried in the land he had been given when it was all divvied up. So the people of Israel served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and the elders who outlived him. Implies that maybe they didn't after those people died out. So then Joseph's... It says the bones of Joseph. I don't know for sure how far into the decaying process 40-something years would take a deceased body, but whatever was left essentially got buried in a certain plot that had actually previously been bought by Jacob, and through the tribal allotments, that plot of land still wound up being within the territory of Joseph's descendants. So essentially, he gets buried in his own land. And then Eleazar, who was the high priest at the time, also was buried in Ephraim. So it's like, okay, well, the people of Israel followed the Lord throughout the lifetimes of these leaders that were alive when all this happened. And then it's talking about, okay, well, this leader died and this leader died. Basically, a bunch of the people who were crucial to the Israelites following the Lord throughout all this are dying off. So, further implying that maybe the people were about to start disobeying God and not following. And doggone it, I need to watch where I'm moving my hands sometimes. Footnote there, 100 pieces of silver. Hebrew says 100 kesitas? I don't know. I'm not sure about the pronunciation on that. Value or weight is no longer known. So it's not really totally sure if it was a small piece of silver or a large one. But in any case, it's not super important to detail. Just the detail is mentioned as a way of confirming that, okay, back when this was originally mentioned earlier in the scriptures, that, this particular plot of land was bought by Jacob, we're talking about this same plot of land. That's usually why these details were included. Kind of similar to how, you get into some genealogies later in the Bible, and it's like, okay, you've got this person, son of this person, son of that person. Like, it gives more detail in order to confirm and specify who the passage is talking about. Anywho, all right, so that is the end of chapter 24 and the book of Joshua as a whole. All right, now I'm back to chat. Thinking of changing the project slightly even more. Planning to tweak some already. It's your project, so it's kind of up to you. I don't really know what else to say there. Keep working at it. Hopefully, any of the changes that you're making will, improve it. But, as for me, right now, I need to do the usual shifting of the setup so that I'm able to look at screen. Now, I do have a way of pulling this off that should look at least not quite so awkward. I passed by the game that I need to load up here. So rather than do the whole all right, music time, we're going to take a break while I shift things over, I'm just going to set it to this particular scene here that gives you the game capture. I'll mute the microphone as I'm moving things over, but in the meantime, I'll be loading Earth Defense Force. All right, so give me a sec to move things around. Okay, so gotcha. Trying to make your project less and less like Sonic Frontiers, basically. Yeah, it's fine to be inspired by something, but you don't necessarily want to make it... You don't want to make your thing too much like the other thing. Yeah, also... Let me real quick edit the category of the stream here, at least over on Twitch. Can't really do that mid-stream on YouTube, which is why I just, from the outset, had it set to the gaming category there. Alright. Hopefully I could still continue making progress here, but it was getting a little rough there. Jeez. Loud truck of some sort. Right outside my apartment. Honestly think the most Frontiers element of it is just the setting. Yeah, the fact of it being on like an island or whatever, I guess. Yeah. Anyway. Alright. Time to record gameplay stuff. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. Gotta make sure I actually hit record, though. Okay. Oh, right. I think... Hold up. I think I generally prefer the webcam being over on the other side while I'm recording things for this game. Glad I got that out of the way before I started talking too much about the game itself there. Okay, so... Back to EDF Insect Armageddon. I'm about to start Chapter 3. The previous couple of chapters have been 5 missions each, so I get the impression there will also be 5 missions in Chapter 3, although I wouldn't be surprised if there's like an extra final mission or something, but whatever. For now, we're about to get into Chapter 3, Mission 1. It's called Downtown, and the description is just... Time to take back Central Field HQ. Okay, then.
Okay, Lightning. Time to go downtown. We need you to retake Central Field HQ ASAP. Intel, got any...
Okay, I did earn some credits from the previous missions. Let me see if there's anything I could unlock that would be significantly helpful. So I'm currently using that assault rifle there, and the other one's a missile launcher. Gotcha. So that's... How many credits do I have? I have 11,000. So I wouldn't even be able to afford this assault rifle right here. Jeez. Now I could buy this assault rifle down here. I don't know if that's really going to be particularly helpful or necessary. And the only other option I would maybe want to consider is a shotgun. I have all those, though, so, you know what? I'm just gonna try this weapon combination and see how things go.
Here's your waypoint, Lightning.
Waypoint received.
Ravages inbound, Lightning. Take them out.
Engaging Ravagers.
Oh, that's right. This is like the bouncy AR that like splits off at various points. Jeez. Okay, this is where the missiles might come in handy. Oof. But there's still some ground enemies to take care of. Is there a,
Ravager concentration seems to be increasing. Proceed with caution. Eliminate all Ravagers.
Roger, Ops.
I'm not seeing any sort of, carrier dropship thing. Oh, geez, there's ticks on the ground now. I hate the ticks. So far, I haven't seen anything that would be spawning said ticks. So hopefully there isn't, like, you know, a bomber spider in the area. If there is, I would very much want to try and prioritize that. But I don't see one. Okay. Trying to get rid of all this stuff on the ground. So it's not in the way as I attempt to then shoot these missiles and stuff at the airborne enemies. And yet, they just keep coming. Hey, more health. That's nice. I like health drops. Health drops are good. Okay. I mean, I guess I could use the missiles on the ground enemies too. As long as they're not real close. Just wouldn't want to do it when they're up real close because, you know, blast radius stuff. Man, this...
Proceed to the objective, Lightning.
Proceed to the objective. Does that mean... Okay. Ooh, sweet. And that is a reason why I like to get rid of enemies, because, you know, other weapon drops, health drops, and such things. Okay, I'm gonna start making my way toward the next waypoint, I guess. Boom. Okay, so far this hasn't been terrible. Not exactly great, but not terrible. And I actually have more health now than what I started with. Can't quite seem to nail down the timing of the reload. Well, really either reload, but especially not the one for the missile launcher, it seems. Okay. Ouch. Only a little bit. Okay, continuing to move toward the waypoint. Albeit a bit slowly. Hey, there we go. Oh, hello. There are turrets around here? Yeah. Have I gotten close enough to the waypoint now? Alright, where's the enemy? Oh, hello. Yeah, that's an anti-air turret. These are all ground enemies. It's not gonna help me a ton. Yeah, sure, that's totally fair. Just have all these things spawn directly underneath me. Oh, there's a bomber spider. I would like to get rid of the bomber spider. I've got an ally down. Okay. Other allies got it, though. No. No thanks on the ticks on my back. Jeez. No. No. Friggin' ticks. I don't like them. Oh, sweet. Bomber spider's down. Nice. That actually wasn't terrible. Surprisingly enough. Now I just gotta get rid of all these other enemies around here, I think. Major health pickup. And another weapon. Oh, there's another bomber spider. Yay! No. Somehow, I have not managed to have a tick explode on me in this mission. Ally down. Ally back up. Way to take care of each other, guys. Go team. Alright, still primarily focusing on the bomber spider. Got an ally down. Still got an ally down. Alright, there we go. I was ready to hop in and help if I had to. I was just hoping I didn't have to. Yes! Another bomber spider down. Another big health pickup, another weapon drop. Gotta say, this is not going too poorly so far. The biggest issue I seem to be having is the stream wigging out. Ouch! Jeez. That was a lot of consecutive hits from those ants there. Oh, they're a little ways away for now. Let's try using some missiles, eh?
Good job, Lightning. There may still be some supplies scattered around the area. Rearm if you need to, but be quick about it. We're detecting what appears to be a big counter-assault closing on your position.
This base must be held at any
Defeat
cost.
the Ravager
period.
counterattack.
Roger that, Intel. Dig in, Lightning. We're detecting wasps, gunships, and multiple carriers.
This is Lightning. We acknowledge.
Wasps, gunships, and multiple carriers. Great. Oh, what is that? Giant waspy thing. Great. Where is the... Yeah, I figured this is where I start using the turrets. Oh, there are the carriers. Okay. Would help if I stay somewhat focused on those. You know, in case they open their hatches. That's, yeah, this turret's just about done for. Which is unfortunate.
Lightning. Looks like those carriers might have just been passing through.
Looks like the carriers might have just been passing through. Really? That surprises me.
Correction, Lightning. The carriers are back.
And they're back. Okay. But now there's a bunch of ground enemies to take care of, too. Which is all kinds of lovely. Ooh, heck yes. Let me see if I can get some hits with this turret on the carrier there. I have an ally that needs reviving. Never mind, he's good. While I'm out and about, let me get... Well, I was gonna say let me get a little health for myself, but I'm losing more health than I'm gaining. Oh, hello. Carrier is open again. But I'm gonna have to hop out this turret real quick here soon. Yep. Right away! So I don't get hit by the, you know, explosion from that turret being destroyed. Nope. Okay, just going around trying to pick up a little health here. Okay, come on. And yet again, I'm probably losing more health than I'm gaining. Ugh. These ants keep popping up out of the ground. And I'm pretty sure they will continue to do so until the carrier's gone. Good golly. Oh, and now that turret's gone. Oh, come on, kicker. Really? Ah. That's annoying. I have one death in the entire mission, and it just so happens to be with that level of inconvenient timing. Fine. Well, I can ditch that recording at least. Right. I don't know. So, like, the stream's kind of wigging out, but as of late, it's been staying around the teens of percentage of dropped frames. But that's for the entire stream. Anyway. Whatever. Alright. Let's try that again. Okay. So, Chapter 3, Mission 1, Downtown. Trying to take back the Central Field Headquarters.
Okay, Lightning. Time to go downtown. We need to retake Central Field HQ ASAP. Intel, got
Alright,
anything for us?
so what I'm thinking I might want to do is...
That's all you're cleared to know for now.
I mean,
You heard the man.
this
Stay
assault
back and face
rifle
the unit full
is
distance.
pretty helpful, but I want to see if this other one down here below it might be a little more effective. Well, 141 damage, 10 per second. 145 damage, 10 per second. This one has a slightly higher clip and slightly less reload time. Seems pretty comparable on the whole. Definitely can't buy any more weapons. And as I've seen in the previous attempt of this, I definitely want to have a missile launcher, or at least it seems very helpful. So yeah,
Here's your waypoint, Lightning.
Waypoint received.
let's see how this
Ravages
goes.
inbound, Lightning. Take them out.
Engaging Ravagers.
It's definitely a lot easier to focus on a particular enemy with this assault rifle than it was with the other one. Because, like, the way that it split was just not particularly... I don't know.
Ravager concentration seems to be increasing.
Like, it made certain distances really awkward to try and hit enemies
Roger ups.
from pretty much just because of the fact that it split off the way that it did. Even at a little bit of a distance, this AR is pretty accurate. No stupid ticks. I don't like them. So far, this actually seems to be going a little bit worse than my previous attempt, but only maybe a little bit. Yeah, maybe after I finish mopping up the rest of these Ravagers here. I hit the reload button way too quickly there. Okay. Hornet things down there. That's good. Okay. Let me at least pick up a little bit of health here. Good grief. While these missiles are helpful, I'm not sure they're helping as much as I hoped they would, because like the tracking on them doesn't exactly seem to follow a very tight radius. Okay, you know what? Supposed to be some health. A little bit over here, although it might be on top of the building. Yeah. That's what it seems like. Oh. Hold up. So this ammo bounces off of buildings? Interesting. Well, maybe not just buildings, but objects in general. So actually, that'd be super helpful if there were a bunch of enemies in like a very tight, confined space. I don't think the ammo bounces off of the enemies though, so like... I don't know if it... I don't know if like per hit it really can do that much more than just any other regular AR would do. Jeez. Seems like there's suddenly quite a few more enemies. Oh, probably because I got within range of the waypoint, or I just took too long to get there. So now the game's all like, okay, well, guess what? We've got more enemies for you now. I'm really gonna need to get rid of the bomber spider soon, though. Well, at least you can only get hit with one tick at a time. No. Oh, jeez. Okay. Kicker's down. Oldman's getting him up, though, so that's good. I'm pretty sure I just shot a tick off of one of my allies there. Like, it was literally on his back, and then I got rid of it. Ouch. I just got, like, bull rushed by the bomber spider there. Okay, come on. Please go away soon. Oh, good. Bomber spider's dead now. Get rid of these remaining ticks here. At least most of them. Okay. Health and weapon drop. Okay. And now, from way downtown, I'm gonna start aiming at the next bomber spider. And possibly hitting some ticks along the way. At least that's kind of what I'm hoping for, that I'll be able to hit some other things as well. Alright, back to the AR. Too close to be comfortable with using the missiles now. Does seem to be taking me a bit longer to progress. And I wonder if that comes down to the change of weapons. Or, you know, it could just be that I got a little less lucky or something. I don't know. There's a number of things it could come down to. Yes, that right there is exactly what I was hoping would happen with using the missiles. Basically, that as it was releasing a bunch of the ticks, I could preemptively stop it from doing so. Oh, sweet. Bomber spider down. To my knowledge, that's the last one. Alright, another big health drop and a weapon. But I only get the weapon if I complete the mission. And I have no idea which class it'll be for, or like which rank within that class that it'll apply to. A little more health. Definitely not a bad thing to have. Maybe it's just me, but it seems like these ants are just going to constantly respawn throughout the mission. Like, I can't just be rid of them all. So are there actually any, like, supplies here? Sure doesn't seem like it.
Good job, Lightning. There may still be some supplies scattered around the area. Rearm if you need to, but be quick about it.
Yeah, no.
We're detecting what appears to be a big counter-assault closing on your position.
This base
Okay, so I think I might leave the far turret
Roger that, Intel.
for
Digging
later
out,
on.
detecting wasps, gunships, and multiple carriers.
This is Lightning. We acknowledge.
This thing's coming!
Okay, oh. Shoot. I'm like, if I can get some hits on those carriers now, let's do it. So far, I'm not really seeing much of anything on the ground.
Lightning. Looks like
Okay, now we get the ground enemies.
Correction, Lightning. The carriers are back.
Oh, so now Kicker's in the turret that I was just using a little bit ago. And Oldman's in the other one. Still gonna try and save the far turret for later. In hopes that, you know, maybe if things get a little more desperate, it'll still be there. And I can, you know, deal a little more damage to some stuff like that. See, and since I'm not in one of those turrets, I'm mostly focusing on offering ground support to get rid of those enemies. Oh, jeez. Huh. Great. So, those other two turrets are already gone. Well, that's lovely. Good golly. Oldman's down. Kicker is on the way to help, though. Okay, you know what? Man. These ants are not going down easy. Even from the turret. And I've got some of them literally spawning right next to the bloody turret. Why? Also, they are a massive distraction from what I actually need to be getting rid of, which is the carriers. Which are the carriers? Well, there's only one that seems to have returned. Okay, let me revive Kicker here real quick. And I do mean real quick, good golly. Now Oldman's down, but Kicker's handling that, it seems. Ah, there's so many enemies. This is kind of ridiculous. Oh, hey. And I didn't even hear the sound of the hatches being open on the carrier. I was kind of relying on that to know when to turn my attention to it. Okay, got some health drops over here. Done it. Well, I gained a little more health than I lost, I guess. Sure would be nice if I could just be rid of all these other enemies. Like, I think the carrier is just dropping the, The regular flying dudes. Whatever those are technically called. But yeah, the ants just do not seem to end ever in this mission. I'm like, there is some health, but it's a ways away. Alright, come on, Oldman. No, don't stop. Really? Come on! Why would it have taken that freaking long to... This is dumb. It's just, like, there's just a little bit too much stuff going on to be able to manage that part of the mission. I don't know. Okay, well... There's another recording that I can get rid of. Don't really have any other options. I mean, okay, I could try going back and redoing some previous missions to try and get more credits and whatnot, but I don't even know if having better weapon types, although going up another rank would also potentially help, but I just did that, so it would take quite a while. So man, I don't know. Like, I really don't know. Okay, well, I'll try it again, see what happens. I think I might go back to the one other assault rifle. Anywho. Okay. Chapter 3, Mission 1, Downtown. Time to take back Central Field HQ.
Okay, Lightning.
Or is it Central Field HQ? Maybe that's more so the way that it's supposed to be said. Anywho. I've already spent all the credits that I had. Well, at least the vast majority of them. It seems like this assault rifle is a little bit better out of the ones I've recently tried to use. So that's got, so that's the one I currently have equipped. I'm wondering a little bit if I should maybe try using a different missile launcher. These are the only two options at Tier 5, though, so let me try the Hammurabi Mark IV. Yeah, I don't really know what else to do. If I can't get this stuff to work, then I'm just gonna have to go back and grind for ranks and or credits, and or maybe see if I can get another unit type up to a decent enough rank. Yeah, somehow this AR seems far more effective.
Lightning. Ravager concentration seems to be increasing. Proceed with caution. Eliminate all Ravagers.
Roger, Ops.
Now I will say, having an assault rifle with a higher rate of fire is definitely more helpful against the ticks. But I've generally been able to deal with the ticks pretty well lately. Yeah, I am way quicker at reviving allies than either of my allies seem to be. So I think as much as possible, I'm going to try and take the initiative on that. My somewhat recent ranking up is probably the biggest contributor to my, revival speed being so quick.
Proceed to the objective, Lightning.
Yeah, well, let me try and make sure I don't die along the way. Okay. Some just dropped some health and a weapon. So I kind of wonder to some effect, and I might try this whenever I eventually get to the next EDF game, or just any other one, but I'm kind of wondering if maybe the way the devs kind of wanted people to progress through the game was to actually go through everything on normal and then on hard, or basically just continually increase the difficulty as you go through. So then, I mean, shoot, that would have helped a ton with EDF 2017, because, I could have just constantly been picking up armor and giving myself more maximum health while completing the lower difficulties, and then been much more prepared for the higher difficulties as a result of that. This game, that doesn't really happen quite so much because of the rank system. But still, even just potentially being able to pick up, weapons from certain missions and not have to spend credits on those. Having more credits to spend on weapons along the way, and all sorts of other stuff like that. See, this time it didn't hit me with the bomber spiders until I got close to here. Is there a bomber spider in the area right now? Ouch. No. No. Friggin' ticks. Getting those off my back is definitely more important than reloading a little bit faster. Ouch. Okay, no allies down at the moment, although, neither of them are doing particularly great. Lots of health, weapon drop. Another bomber spider now, yay! See, this stuff, it seems like I can deal with reasonably well. It's when they start adding in a bunch of air enemies. Especially whatever those big, kinda robotic-looking wasp thingies are. I'm not saying for sure those are the reason I struggle later on in the mission, but they certainly don't help things. Because they managed to knock down a few of my allies. Or knock an ally down a few times. As I was trying to take care of that stuff. I might want to try and find me some health if I can, but it's all so far away. Yeah, kind of going for it anyway, even though the health is, as I said, sort of far away. Because otherwise, I'm not sure I'm going to get much of a chance. And it's all, like, on top of buildings and stuff right now, isn't it? Well, that's unfortunate. Could I destroy the buildings to get the health? Yes. Do I want to? No.
Good job, Lightning. There may still be some supplies
Okay.
scattered around the area. Rearm if you need to, but be quick about it. We're detecting what appears to be a big counter-assault closing on your position.
This
Yeah.
place must be held at any cost. Period.
Roger that, Intel. Dig in, Lightning. We're detecting wasps, gunships, and multiple carriers.
This is Lightning. We acknowledge.
It's not going to let me actually hit that thing, is it? Well, I'm getting rid of a decent number of the aerial enemies at this point, but
Looks like those carriers might have just been passing through.
yeah, but now I have stuff on the ground to get rid of.
Lightning, the carriers are back.
Yeah, carriers are back. Lovely. And there's a bunch of ants. All over the flippin' place. I am seeing some health drops. I'm gonna try and get those. Alright, will it let me get back in the turret? Yes. But it's not going to let me do a whole lot with it. Because, yeah. It's gone now. But I do still have this one out here. It really does not seem to be all that effective. And it's practically gone already. See, the second that it seems like I get the ants whittled down to a low enough number that they just... There's more of them popping up out of the ground. See? Yeah, like that. I didn't even get rid of all the ants in the area. And there's more. How on earth am I ever supposed to be able to concentrate on the friggin' carrier when I've got all this going on around me? Really? I didn't notice I was that low on health, but my allies are both in good shape, so at least there's that. I'm not seeing any more ants. Maybe I'll actually be able to focus on the airborne enemies now. That would be great. Yeah, that ain't hitting the carrier at all. Okay, really would like to get some health. Seems like there should be some. Right about here. I really would like to be rid of these wasp type enemies. So then it's literally only the carrier and the things that are spawning from the carrier. Oh, hello. On your feet, kicker. Okay. Health is back to not looking too bad. Hey, wasp thingy's down. Oh, man. But there seems to be another. And there's more than just another. Any more health around here? Should be some. Right there. And a little more over here. Yeah, there are some moments where I literally have no clue how I'm supposed to be able to focus on the carrier. And if I do focus on the carrier, I'm getting just riddled with, well, I would say bullets, but really it's laser stuff as much as it is bullets. Really, probably even more so lasers than bullets. But you get my point. I try to focus on the carrier, and I take a bunch of hits. Also, why does this one not make the sound of the hatches opening? But I kind of sort of need to focus on the carrier. Otherwise, this is going to take forever. This also seems like kind of a beefed up carrier compared to previous ones. Dang it. Messed up the quick reload, but whatever. Alright, I haven't seen any Hornet things in a little while. Hopefully those are all gone. Really wish that other red spot on the carrier was just a permanent target. That, you know, could at least let me deal a little bit of damage to it. Even if it wasn't as much damage as, you know, the hatches and whatnot. I'm definitely getting some hits on the carrier. It's just, with all the other gunships in the way and the time between opening and closing and different things like that. Yeah. Not exactly progressing quickly. I'm gonna try and get me a little more health over here. There's actually a bunch of health fairly close by. So if I start getting desperate, I might focus a little more on going to pick some of that up. This, I will say, is the one part of the mission where it would probably help a bit more to be using a rocket launcher instead of a missile launcher. Because the missiles occasionally get, you know, sidetracked by the gunships instead of focusing on the carrier. Whereas a rocket launcher, I could just stay focused on the carrier and not worry about it veering off to damage anything else. Also, rocket launchers generally deal more damage per shot. But the missile launcher does help a lot with getting rid of the gunships. So, you know, I'm not exactly inclined to say that it's a poor weapon choice. Alright, let me go ahead, try and pick up some more health. Yeah, there's quite a bit of health flying around. So at least there's that. Right now, this is just more tedious than anything else. Totally sure how much more damage I have to deal to the carrier, but it's getting there. Okay, picking up a little more health. Okay. Occasionally I have things just knocking me over that I'm like, what even happened? Pressed reload a little too early there. Yeah, those hatches are definitely, the lights from those hatches are definitely getting a bit darker now. Which means I am making progress on the carrier, and it will somewhat soon be destroyed. Yes! There we go. Huzzah! Now, hopefully, I just need to get rid of the rest of these gunships, and then we'll be in good shape. Also, let's try not to be in the immediate blast radius of that carrier when it goes down.
Base secured. Outstanding. At ease, Lightning.
It's not there. Where the... Damn it.
Come again, Intel?
Ops, let's take this to a secure channel for a moment.
Roger that.
Move to the rally point.
Okay, Lightning. Stand by.
Alrighty. So, really the big change was just different missile launcher. And actually being able to get rid of all the ground enemies before then focusing on the air. Okay, yeah. I'm still like only maybe halfway to rank 6. Okay, so only 1 death for me. And only 5 total for my allies. That's not bad. Got a new rocket launcher for the trooper. A grenade launcher for the battle unit. And a grenade launcher and a rocket launcher for the jet unit. Interesting. Okay, well. That does it for that mission. Okay, took a few tries, but we got there. Eventually. Also, I have not been looking at my phone notifications for a while. I should probably do that just in case. Yeah, I missed a phone call somewhere in there, but I don't recognize the number, so I don't care about that. Something from Discord about the D&D campaign thing. Whoa. Do Yeah. Sorry, just reading up on things so I'm not terribly out of the loop for when that gets rolling on Saturday. Oh, man. Okay. Okay. One mission down. Another one to go. If I manage to complete that and still have a little time this morning, I might just mess around and go back to some other missions on some other difficulties while also trying to work on a different unit type. But anywho, okay. Alright, so we're moving on to Chapter 3, Mission 2, Busy Work. Ravagers are massing to take the base back. Time for a counterattack. Like the base that we were just fighting at? Scenery does look quite similar, so maybe.
Ops here, Lightning. Apparently, the base wasn't the main objective. Well, the base was the objective, but the objective wasn't at the base. I can't really say any more at this time. Intel sorting things out. In the meantime, a number of anthills have sprung up in your vicinity.
I don't know how well y'all can hear
Intel thinks that the Ravagers are trying to mount a counter-assault.
what the game is saying.
That doesn't happen. Tanks and mechs are nearby if you need them.
Tanks and mechs are nearby. Interesting. Ooh, I got this. So that's new. I'm inclined to maybe at least give it a shot. Don't know how much I'll be using it if there are tanks and mechs nearby, but... Hey, you know what? Okay, so where's the... Oh, mech. Huh. Cool beans. Let me hop in the mech here. So we got some Hectors to start things off. But I also have a mech to start things off. We also have a bunch of enemies on the ground now, which is lovely. Or a bunch of smaller enemies on the ground, I should say. How am I not getting rid of any of these Hectors yet? Have I not been hitting them in the right spots? Have I just unintentionally been, alternating my focus between them? And this mech's almost gone. In fact, it is gone now. Alrighty. Well, dang. Okay, there's a Hector down. And I'm starting to see ticks in here with the ants, I think. I don't like that. Not one bit. Oh, okay. Another weapon drop. Which is over this way. Okay. So it gives me a chance to somewhat get a look out on my allies while I go and pick that up. No. Allies are still okay-ish. No. Friggin' ticks.
The Ravager anthill cluster is waiting
For all 3 anthills. 3 anthills?
Roger that. On our way.
Well, that's just lovely, isn't it?
Bomber spider is inbound, Lightning.
Okay. Got one more Hector to get rid of right around here, though. Okay. For a second, I thought this rocket launcher was behaving a little bit like a missile launcher, but it's actually just because after a certain range, it, like, expands out into multiple rockets. Okay, now with the bomber spider being a bit closer, I'm gonna just use the AR here. Okay. In that moment, I understand what hit me and knocked me back. But there were other times when I really wasn't sure what was happening with all that. Okay, let's mop up these ticks before trying to move on. Okay, they are ant hills that we're supposed to be getting rid of, right? Not like other kind of hills that would be spawning other types of enemies, like these bomber spiders. That would absolutely suck if there was something to the equivalent of an anthill that was then spawning bomber spiders. Because, like, anything that spawns spawners is... Oh, man. That was almost that was almost a combination of spawner and bomber that I wound up saying there. Which sounded a bit like spammer. Right now, I'm having to be a spammer of the Y button, so I don't get just completely obliterated by these ticks. Okay, bomber spiders down. Now for some more ticks. If we end up getting a third bomber spider here, I'm really going to wonder about the quote-unquote ant hills coming up.
Oh, wish my old pal Patty was here. Bugs, robots. Damn.
Okay, that seems to be one of the ant hills in question right there. Okay. Not really too many ants nearby. Planting explosives. Boom. There's one down. I see another one over in this direction. Planting explosives. Nice. So far, doing that kind of stuff
One until remaining.
has actually not gone too poorly. Okay, so where's the last hill? Oh, jeez. And now we're getting mech spiders. Seriously though, where's the other anthill? Oh, there it is. I sees it. Kinda had a feeling more ants were about to come out of there. Come on. Yes! Explosive planted.
All antils down. Eliminate any remaining ravagers.
Eliminate all remaining ravagers. Okay. That's easy enough to understand. Shoot all the things. Or at least all the bug-like things. There is health kind of nearby. There we go. Boom. And I am destroying so many buildings in the process of this. But you know what? I don't care. There is no reason within the lore of this game to think that that is an issue. Rendezvous with Echo Squad and resupply. Okay, so that is definitely not the end. Or at least you wouldn't think when it says resupply.
Rendezvous with Echo at the waypoint and resupply.
Roger, ops. Moving.
There's a lot of health around here. Holy cow.
Lightning, I am waypointing
Move to the marked
possible location
sector.
of the Ravagers. Hit them hard.
Roger that.
Oh, jeez. Airborne enemies. Great. Well, if I'm at any point able to, after getting to the marked sector, at least I should know that there is a place I can go to get some health back. Like I may want to do right now. Okay. Not just running in a straight line, strafing back and forth a bit. Boom. Boom. And that's a small one. I'll pick that up as well. Still got 3 big health and armor boosts, though. Which is good. I'm just absolutely decimating all the buildings around here, aren't I? Oh yeah, so I forget if I stated this earlier, but it seems like the thing that the Ravagers are going for is like at the central field HQ, but it's not like it's the headquarters itself that they're going for. Can I? Okay. For a second I was like, wait, can I actually go down in here? Is that an okay thing to do? Okay, I'm getting close to the next objective. Okay. Hey, yay, ticks. I love ticks. Alright. No. I'm hoping whatever knocked me back also knocked the tick off of me. Alright, I'm still seeing more ticks now. So we have a bomber spider nearby, and I'm just not seeing it. Oh, there's another anthill. Okay. Duly noted. Please don't. Ah, crud. Please don't hit me. Please don't hit me. Please don't. Nope. They definitely hit me. Good grief. Okay, there's Oldman. Kicker's also still alive. One of them should be able to get to me. And the anthill has been rebuilt. I meant to press Y there, not X. Planting explosives. Ah! So close. Alright, Oldman needs reviving now. Okay. Get rid of a couple more enemies nearby. Including friggin' spiders. Why do they have to add spiders to the mix? As if the anthill and the ants coming from it were not enough on their own. Nope, it's not gonna let me plant those explosives. There are way too many enemies nearby. Including these ants that have really freaking good aim in this game. And the anthill's back. Where are all of these enemies coming from? There's no way that many ants came out of the anthill just now. There we go. Explosives have been planted. Huzzah. Well, there's a bunch of health around to be picked up. Also a bunch to be lost to all these ants. And, oh, crap. That's not good. Freaking Mark II Hector. And a bomber spider. This is really not good on so many levels. And I don't see any tanks, any mechs. I see nothing nearby that could be used to help us in this endeavor. Great, kicker's down. That's lovely. Where are you at, kicker? There you are. Okay. Yeah, crud. I kind of got stepped on there. Where? Okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it to any other health pickups or anything. I can't even jump up there, which is lovely. Allies are not looking too hot either. In fact, there goes Oldman. Okay. Well, I managed to revive Oldman at least. Okay. Both allies are up. We're moving. How have I not been hit recently? Ah, really? And right when I'm close to the health. Oh, come on. Okay, good. I'm up. Really would like to get rid of that bomber spider. Yes. Okay. Bomber spider is gone. What the... How did I not pick up the health that was sitting right the frick there that whole time? I was literally right next to it for a good, like, couple of seconds at least. Oh, and there are anthills. At least there's another one. That would explain why the ants kept spawning in. Good luck having enough time to get rid of the anthill, though. Because I've got too many ants focused on me. And then there's the Hector. Sweet! Explosives planted. Oof.
Okay, that's most of them. Mop up the rest, Lightning.
Lightning commencing mop up.
Okay. Commencing mop-up, he says. Yeah. Mopping up of the giant freaking Hector Mark II. But that is the only thing that's left. So, at least I've got that going for me. Kind of wishing it would turn towards me now. Maybe not attack me, but turn towards me. There we go. And of course, it's attacking me. Allies are both up. They're moving, so at least there's that. I'm trying to stay a little bit away from my allies. Just so that whatever ends up possibly killing them doesn't also immediately kill me. Okay, come on. Alright, you know what? I gotta get a better angle on this thing, though. Okay. So, now the idea is maybe I'll just stand kind of behind where they are and wind up being pretty much exactly where they are. Lovely. Okay. I'm gonna leave that to you, Oldman. Seems like you've got it pretty well taken care of. Now where are they going? They seem to be headed kind of back in the direction of where we were resupplying earlier. Is it down? Is that it for the... No. I think we just sort of exposed its core or whatever. Or, like, significantly weakened it. Maybe. Nice!
Good work. Head to the rally point and take 5, Lightning.
Sweet!
Secure channel. I'll get back to you ASAP.
Wonder how many people these damn things have killed.
Hector Mark II is down. And proceeding to the rally point. Given the timing of things, that could be the end of the mission. I'm not going to assume that it is, but it could be. Although I see people running away from a spot. Although I have no clue where or what they're running away from. Seems to be very kind of haphazard. Await further orders. Mission complete. Sweet. Only 2 deaths. Not bad. Didn't get a ton of experience, though. Holy cow, the weapons. Hold up. I got a sniper for the jet class, an assault rifle, and a missile launcher for the trooper, although those don't seem to be new. The only ones that say that they're new are 2 different shotguns for the tactical unit. Anyway. Okay, well, hey, first try. Not too bad, if I do say so myself. Okay, and that's it for that particular mission. And for that bit of recording. Oh, man. I might, just for kicks, go, okay, so the next one is the package. Okay. Maybe the package that, the Ravagers are after? I don't know. But, just for kicks, I'ma try seeing if I can complete Firebase Clyde here on Inferno.
Lightning, new tasking orders incoming. HQ has received a distress signal from Firebase Clyde. The firebase is near your current position and has been overrun by Ravagers.
Alright, I got 20,000 credits.
Has been tasked with securing the
Is
area
there
for
anything that, I don't know if there's anything I really want to use them on, at least not for the, trooper class. You know what? Actually, change that plan. I might instead just go back to hard mode. You know what? Normal. Just so I'm making some sort of progress on something. And I'll go ahead and do ditch slap on normal with the battle unit, I'm thinking.
Numerous units, including those you were meant to rendezvous with to take out the giant Ravager.
Battle unit, yeah.
Your extraction. Just getting you out of this area is going to be tough.
Shoot, that's not that many credits. I might as well unlock that rocket launcher and that missile launcher. I already have a tier 2 grenade launcher, so that doesn't seem so necessary. Alrighty. So, yeah, but what kinds of weapons do I want to use? An assault rifle's generally a good idea. Grenade launcher might not be. I'm not sure whether I would lean more towards missiles or rockets for this. I do believe there are some aerial enemies, so I might go with the missile launcher. Just because of that.
Lightning?
Oh yeah, this is the one with mechs.
I think I found you a way out, but it's not going to be pretty.
So this actually shouldn't be
I've had some mechs airdrop
too much of a problem
Utilize the mechs to reach
with
the waypoint.
mechs
Neutralize
being
all
available.
enemies you encounter.
Let's get that section of the bridge out of the way there, maybe. This is quite easy so far. But, you know, it's a lower difficulty on an earlier mission. So, shouldn't be too surprising, really. There is a Hector over there. Oh my gosh, now my allies, with their mechs, are in the way of me using my mech to, damage the Hector. Okay, well, Hector's down, so that is no longer really an issue. Another Hector. Alright, I'm gonna get out in front of my group this time, so I can put more effort into targeting the Hector. Boom. Second Hector down. So, anyway, I am not recording this. This is just for fun. How's everybody doing? Oh, jeez, did we lose a mech already? Did we lose both of our other mechs already? Okay, what's our current objective? Oh no, okay. There's definitely still at least 8. No, both other mechs are still available. I guess my allies were just using them for the Hectors? Oh, geez. Okay. There is also an anthill, for which I will need to exit the mech and plant some explosives. Destroy all Ravagers. Okay then. Gonna take a little bit of time, but shouldn't be too bad. I'm like, I heard the sound of a Hector. But I was just not seeing the Hector for a little while. Well, there we go, Hector down. Before I move past this point in the mission, I will definitely want to go back and grab some things, especially the weapon drop. Like, health can only go up so high, but the weapons, I mean, there's potential for those to be just, well, potential for those to be something new, and whatever they are, they can definitely be, you know, carried over between missions. Great, we have another Ravager that placed itself way the heck out there and seems to be kind of, sort of, almost stuck. Alright, now how do I use the... Okay, that's how. I was like, how do I use the, like, alternate power thing or whatever of this troop type? It's left trigger. Okay. Well, that's it for the weapon drops. Sorry, real quick. I think I just... Yeah, I've got a text message. Okay. So sometimes on Thursdays I, you know, end up meeting up with somebody I know from church for lunch. That message was just them saying that they will not be able to do that this week. Okay, where is this enemy that... is, like, just completely eluding us? Okay, I'm seeing hints of it, but it seems to have potentially even gotten itself, like, stuck under the bridge thing, and there is literally nothing we can do about it. That's kind of dumb. Okay, plant a charge to get into the tunnel.
You're going to have to plant a charge to open it back up.
Planting explosives. Running away. Why are you getting close to it?
Okay, Lightning. Clear that tunnel. Take out
Actually,
those
you know what?
before moving on.
Mechs aren't really going to help a ton with this part of things. Because the mechs cannot get down here into this area and get rid of these anthills. That is cool. I like that. Having a freaking zappy shield. Okay, this operates quite different from other missile launchers I've used. Yeah, figured it wasn't going to be that easy. Alright, maybe now. Cool. Let me just take a few steps back here. Alright, one anthill down. So, especially since I will not be meeting up with my church friend for lunch. I'm actually kind of thinking that might be even more reason for me to just wrap up the live stream after this, because then I can have lunch myself and then work on some edits and other kind of chores and stuff. Like Thursdays are also kind of my laundry days. Dang, there are a lot of ants around here. Alright, you know what? Hold up. What does this do? Giant shockwave. Well, not giant, but shockwave that does a bunch of damage. And, yeah. Seems like that cleared out the area well enough to both get rid of the ants and level the ant hill. So I definitely think that's going to be my approach for this next ant hill, if necessary. Oh, it seems like it is not necessary. Kablam.
Lightning, mop up the remaining enemies as you make your way out of the canal towards the next waypoint.
Yeah, this is this is way easier than what I've been dealing with on hard mode. But I mean, it's supposed to be notably easier. I don't know if I'd say it's supposed to be that much easier. Kablam. And dude, the extra abilities of this unit really make me wonder if I should have been using this one all along. Because, I mean, you've got the shockwave thing, you've got the zappy shield thing, you've got just having a shield in general. That's not the one I meant to do this time, but whatever. This is still totally fine. I hope my shockwave things aren't damaging my allies, but if they are, it is not apparent. A little bit more health. It's probably up there.
Appreciate it. Reloading.
Secure the bridge and take out the anthill on the other side.
These missiles don't have a particularly large blast radius. Or, actually, no, that's a rocket launcher, isn't it? Alright, well. Hi-ya! Okay. Not quite that easy. Sorry. Aluboy? 123? I don't know if I pronounced that right, but welcome to the chat and the stream. You have some questions about my religion, you say. I'm open to it, as long as we're being respectful here. Isn't Christianity idol worship? How exactly would it be idol worship? Like, it would help if you explain what within Christianity you think is idol worship.
We've got another carrier in the area.
Because Jesus was a man and you have... So, I will say some Christians in particular can get a little carried away with the iconography and whatnot. But like, that's not the basis of Christianity, so I would definitely say that Christianity on the whole is not idol worship, because we're not supposed to be worshiping the image. We're supposed to be worshiping Jesus, who is God. And I've heard multiple people present Islam's view, but feel free to share your view as well, because I'm sure, much like Christians, you know, there are Muslims who hold a slightly different view of the faith. I mean, my understanding of Islam's view of Jesus is just that, you know, he was a great prophet. And that's, I mean, that's sort of the, you know, oversimplified version of it. Okay, I'm hearing sounds from a carrier. And yes, I am somewhat attempting to multitask here. Believe he was a prophet of God. We do believe in his miracle birth. Don't believe in his crucifixion. We believe God ascended him to heaven and will return as Messiah to fight false Messiah. Yeah, the lack of belief in the crucifixion is definitely a key difference in the faith perspectives here, because, like, from my Christian faith and understanding of his miraculous birth, it wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense or have been necessary at all for the miraculous birth to happen, were it not for, you know, the idea of him coming to Earth to die on the cross to, you know, satisfy or to pay the penalty for sin. I don't believe in salvation. I'm curious what you do believe in then, as far as having a right relationship with God. But, like, the big, you know, really, I would say the main point of the Christian faith is that, you know, we're flawed human beings, prone to what we call sin, and that sort of causes us to be at least partially at odds with God, and that sort of separates us from Him by way of just naturally being drawn towards those tendencies. And so, because we can't really make up for that in and of ourselves, Jesus, who was God in human form, came to earth, died on the cross to, you know, basically pay the price for that and give us a better eternity with God. Anyway, sorry. We don't believe in dying for your sins. Believe we are all accountable for what we do. Christians also believe we're accountable for what we do. And it's just I guess the difference is in thinking about how we make that right. Like how we, you know, try and still have a good relationship with God despite what we do. As a Muslim, if you believe in Allah and the Prophet, if you do sins, you will face punishment unless you ask forgiveness. Yeah, I mean, asking forgiveness certainly also is important in the Christian faith. Because if you don't ask for the forgiveness that, you know, is presented to us through Jesus, then you're basically still at odds with God. But I guess it's more so than, you know, acting upon a desire. I guess in a way both are still, you know, the asking for forgiveness is acting upon that desire to have a right relationship with God. It's just the belief in the means by which that happens is where we differ. Because, again, I'm not entirely sure what the Muslim belief is regarding how you are then made right with God. But, you know, the Christian explanation for it then is that, well, Jesus paid the price for us, so believing in Jesus and, you know, having faith in his work of salvation and a desire to have that relationship and follow his example and things like that, that's, you know, what sort of fixes the relationship with God then. That's how, you know, your sins are then forgiven by, well, seeking that forgiveness. And do I believe Hitler will go to heaven? I don't know the finer details of Hitler's life. I do know the big thing, though, and assuming that that was his way of thinking throughout his life, I would say very likely not. Because, you know, if he was so bent on just A, rampant bigotry and racism, B, killing those who didn't agree with his way of thinking, like, that does not seem to be the way of God to me. Therefore, no, I do not believe, personally, that Hitler would be in heaven. He was a human prone to sin, yes, as we all are, but it's the it's the apparent lack of understanding of God and of God's relationship with the world, his desire to, help us all, essentially, his desire to have a relationship with us, just the essentially warped perspective that it seems Hitler had is what has me thinking that he's not going to go to heaven. That there seemed to be no real issue in his mind with the things that he was doing. And that's where the problem is. There was no repentance on his part for what he did. Because he kept on doing it until he was just no longer really able to do so. Either he died or he, faded into obscurity because he needed to, because he fell from power. But do Christians need repentance? I think yes, because and the Bible essentially teaches us that we need to at least have some sort of desire to turn from our sinful ways, or at least have some sort of regret over the sin we commit in order to have a right relationship with God. Because if there's not that desire to fix ourselves, then just like we see countless times in the Old Testament, it's the continued denial of God, turning to other things, and... Hi, ukulele, by the way. You've come upon an interesting conversation here. But we see countless times in the Old Testament that, you know what, I'm going to ditch the game for a second, because I'm kind of done with that anyway. We see countless times in the Old Testament that even God's chosen people, the Jews, the Israelites, however you wish to refer to them, that they turn away from God and things go poorly. Not even just for them. We see for other people that, like, in Sodom, they were completely just living a life that was not what God wanted. There was no desire to change. Therefore, it was essentially wiped off the map. And God had a similar idea with Nineveh. If you read the story of Jonah. But since, Jonah wound up telling them that God didn't like what they were doing, and they repented and changed their ways, they were still, kept alive, and at least for that moment, thriving. Okay, so now you're getting into a more nuanced, kind of touchier subject, because what we understand today as, like gay marriage and different things like that, I think there are some cultural differences between how that all is now and how it was back then. But there is no positive mention of homosexuality in the Bible. And, genuinely, if there's no desire to seek after God, I think that's the crux of things. Forget repeating certain sins, forget, just naturally being bent towards doing bad things. Ultimately, it is, whether we have a desire to seek after God, to, better ourselves, and to try and live more in line with God and what He wants for us. So then, like if the entire lifestyle that we live beforehand makes it at any point that anyone would be disqualified, then repentance wouldn't matter. Deathbed confessions and the like would absolutely not make a difference. But from the Christian perspective, if there is that desire to seek after God, that is the crux of things. If repentance is required, how does the dying for your sins work? Repentance then is essentially the acceptance of the forgiveness. It's the admission that you've done wrong and the desire to do better. Realizing that we are not capable of freeing ourselves from the desire to sin. So we repent because we are seeking God and the forgiveness that was provided to us through the work of the cross. Jesus took on our accountability as far as the afterlife is concerned. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, we might not necessarily see in this life not fully the consequences of certain sins, because there are plenty of people who have, indulgent, thriving lives that are completely devoid of any sort of godly notions or behaviors, but they thrive in this life just because the world is fallen and it's not perfect. But in terms of afterlife and whether you live eternally in heaven or in hell, that there's repentance makes a big difference. Desire to seek God makes a big difference. As far as okay, so like if you're saying someone doesn't, so like their behavior doesn't follow what God says, but they believe, do they get forgiven? And I think they're the crux of it is there a desire to seek after God, to seek his will and his commands, and seek a relationship with God? Because if that's not there, I doubt the person truly believes. If it is there, then I would say there's belief. Not everything in our lives is a immediate fix like that. It does happen with some people, but it doesn't always happen like that. So is there that desire to seek God, to live a better life? If that's there, I'd say that's the tipping point, so to speak, in terms of our, eternal fate. Anyone who decides to turn from their sins and follow him can be forgiven, but you can't just keep sinning. Right. It's not like you're stamping your ticket to heaven by saying you believe in Jesus or anything like that. What's happening there is that you are saying that you are committed to following Jesus and to deepening your relationship with God. So it's not just a one-time, okay, boom, you're set for life kind of idea. It's Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the chat now. It's not dying for your sins. God can just account humans on the day of judge. But they're like... Certainly if you go with the Old Testament idea, there were sacrifices that were supposed to be made to pay for sin, to cleanse the person of that sin, and to show their dedication to God and their right, or their desire to fix that and to make it right. That was a big reason for the offerings to begin with. But because ultimately, those offerings in and of themselves weren't weren't sufficient for eternity, Jesus offered a better way that is accessible to us through means other than sacrificing animals. Yeah, there might be a little bit of a difference in thinking here on what dying for your sins means. Sacrificing for sin was a practice of the Jews. Still would be in this day and age, to my understanding, or should be based on the Bible, if they don't believe in Jesus. But Christ died on the cross as payment for sins, but we have to accept that what Jesus did was sufficient, since we would not be able to sufficiently pay that penalty ourselves. But you can't just sin however much you want, because that's sorry. Chat's going faster than I can keep up with, and yes, I realize it's only 2 people. 1 John 3, 6-10. No one who abides in him keeps on sinning. No one who keeps on sinning has either seen him or known him. And I would say when it says nobody keeps on sinning, I mean, yes, we do keep on messing up and missing the mark, so to speak, but what we don't do is continue just unrepentantly doing things that we know are wrong. Whoever practices righteousness is righteous. Whoever makes a practice of sinning is of the devil. Yeah, that's like it's the intent there, and the purposeful, either leaning into God and trying to be better, or intentional just doing whatever you want and sinning. That is the major difference. Then he didn't die for our sin. Okay, again, I think there's a difference in understanding of what dying for our sins means. Paying the price of something doesn't necessarily, that's not the same thing as the, person whose debt is paid or whatever. Jesus dying for our sins is not the same thing as us being, as it's not the same thing as us being free from sin, because we still have to choose to be free of that sin. Like, if you're in debt and somebody pays that for you, you still, there's there can still be a choice to live the same way that you did while you were in debt. Sorry. I'm trying to do more than just read the chat as well. Basically, if you say you accept salvation from Jesus but keep on sinning intentionally and unrepentantly, then you didn't really accept him. Right. The English words don't have the nuance of the original language sometimes. There's also some truth to that. Why would God need to come down and die to forgive the original sin? And again, there's more to Jesus coming to earth and dying for sins than just, forgiveness. There was also the building of a relationship, the living a life that exemplifies how we should live. We might not always live up to that perfectly, but it gives us an example to build off of. Jesus showed and talked to the religious leaders of the time how they were doing things wrong, even though they were very studied in the scripture, and how they supposedly should have been able to live holy and righteous lives. But even in that, they were messing it up. Yeah, he didn't need to do it. We needed him to because we're so stubborn. That, saying he could have just sent a prophet like before. Yeah, we do believe the Jews killed Jesus too. Specifically, the ones who were, misinterpreting the law and took issue with Jesus's way of life that he presented. But yeah, there's difference was that this was the plan all along. He wasn't just a prophet, he was the fulfillment of prophecy. And yes, there was a lot of prophecy related to the coming of a Messiah, and there's a lot of that Jesus fulfilled. And even just going back to sin and the standard that God had established with the Jews, his chosen people in the Old Testament, the standard that was set was that sin separates us from a right relationship with God. And there needs to be, or at least there rightly should be, some sort of payment made in order to make up for that. Jesus did claim to be God. Let's be clear on that. He may not have said word for word, "I am God." Although, I think somebody, I forget the exact situation, but somebody in the New Testament was saying something related to either the coming Messiah or something like that, and Jesus comes back with, "I am he." I'm trying to remember also where there's a place where Jesus specifically claims that he is, quote, "I am," which was also the exact name that God in the Old Testament had given himself. But because physically Jesus on earth was born, that is part of the reason why he also refers to God the Father. And that gets into the whole notion of the Trinity, which is also complicated, difficult to understand. But, you know, Jesus being physically born of God, he was part of God, but like God was also his father because of being born on earth physically. Yeah, I'm not sure how to set up the whole chapter verse thing, to be honest with you. If you want to give me some tips on that, I'd greatly appreciate it. Maybe in Discord somewhere, if not here. But anyway. The Council of Nicaea would say that they were not creating the concept of the Trinity, but that they were merely putting it together as it was laid out in the scriptures. Even all the way back in Genesis, God says, let us make humans in our image, implying that God was not just a singular entity, but that there, so that hints at the Trinity. Jesus himself also, before he ascends to heaven, says to baptize in the name of the Father, Son, and Spirit. All three parts of the Trinity that we believe in. If there was really only one essence, entity, whatever you want to call it, that is God, then why would he say Father, Son, and Spirit? Why did Jesus prostrate to God then? Because, as a human, he was, and also being begotten by the Father, it's still a sign of respect. It's still a sign of, wanting to be right with the Father. So you're saying to God, God is, like Jesus is God, the Father is God, the Spirit is God, even though they are not all each other. And that's where a lot of people get confused about our understanding of the Trinity. Just go to the chapter verse channel and in chat type join channel. Okay, is that on Twitch, Ukulele? I assume so, because otherwise, like, other platforms don't really use commands like that so much. But yeah, there is a lot of evidence in the Bible regarding the existence of God being triune. Religion shouldn't be complicated. It's the basic tenets of Christianity aren't that complicated. We're sinful and flawed human beings. Jesus died to pay the penalty for our sin. If we accept Jesus's penalty, the price that Jesus paid, and seek after him, seek to live the way that he lived and told us to live, then we're good. That's a bit of an oversimplification, but most religions, if you dive deep into them, are more complicated than most of us believe they are on the surface. So, saying religion shouldn't be complicated, I think really the more fitting term is complex. Complicated sounds negative, as if it's adding extra hoops to jump through just because, whereas saying that it's complex is more like, okay, it's deep, and there are, different, like the understanding of it. Yes, there's a basic level of that, but there's also, more to dive into and learn and know about. And so because Christianity is based on relationship with Jesus, with God, and not merely just, all right, follow this rule, that rule, that rule. That's part of what makes it seem complicated, but it's what adds depth to it, and what really kind of separates it from a lot of other religions. Because most religions are just, okay, do this, do that, don't do this and that, and you're good. Whereas Christianity is a continual desire to draw close to God and to follow Jesus' example. Anyway, when he walked on earth, he did so as man, so it was right that he honored God. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying before about why Jesus would, prostrate himself and or worship and or pray to the Father in any way. And I know the concept of the Trinity is confusing, but despite having three separate, essences or entities, we still believe that God is one being, just kind of manifested in different ways, or perhaps even just that there are different ways that we relate to him and or have related to him over the course of time. But there's specifically Father, Son, and Holy Spirit mentioned outright by Jesus, but they are all part of the same God. Ugh. Sorry, just I feel like I need to move around, try and stretch out a little bit. So, I have appreciated the conversation. Appreciate the openness to asking the questions. Also, Ukulele for assistance in the discussion and helping to communicate different concepts and whatnot. I would like to, at some point soon, wrap this up and get myself some lunch. But yeah, if you have other questions, I've got a YouTube channel. You could comment somewhere on there, or there are other ways of getting a hold of me. Feel free to look at social media links and whatnot. But yeah, denial of the Quran means you think the Holy Prophet Muhammad was an expert historian, expert in Greek and Hebrew, and the biggest, whereas, okay, hold up. Yeah, I know, I don't have channel points. I haven't hit affiliate yet. I'm pretty sure I need to hit affiliate before channel points are set up. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Okay, I don't see how denial of the Quran means thinking that Muhammad was all those things that you say that he is. But, sure, he may have been knowledgeable in some things. I personally, Muhammad might have been a prophet, but he also might not have been a prophet of God if there were things that he, got wrong about all that. He didn't exactly live a great life either. Okay, first off, please do not rip on the way that I communicate. me trying to talk and think at the same time. It's not exactly easy for me. And that's just the way that I'm built. That does not discount anything related to the Christian belief. Do not take my imperfections as, a lack of evidence or reason to believe in Christianity. We're talking about how everybody messes up, nobody's perfect. So, how does me stuttering and struggling to explain mean what you say that it means? I also personally have a habit of way too overthinking things and trying to make sure I use good wording, because then when I don't, it just further adds confusion. He who you're saying Muhammad was literally perfect in nature? Highly doubtful. To my understanding, there are multiple things that he did, like having various wives and or lovers, you might say, that doesn't gel with what God expects of us and wants us to live. I'm not privy to all the details, but to my understanding, Muhammad was not perfect. As far as what I'm missing for affiliate, I just need more concurrent viewership. That's all I need. More concurrent viewers. My average is not at 3 on Twitch. I'm not, I might have 3 people viewing at the moment, but that's, not necessarily my average. It's not like I'm a well-known apologist or a master's in divinity. Yeah. I do have a degree from an undergraduate degree from a Bible college, but even those with seminary degrees, masters in divinity, different things like that, they don't even claim to know all the answers, because as much as we can try to understand, God is infinite, we are finite. Therefore, we will never fully understand, at least not until we end up, getting to our eternal fate. Those of us who believe going to heaven and whatnot. But even then, I'm not totally sure that we'll fully understand it all. Many Christians don't have the ability to explain their beliefs in full. I mean, it certainly takes a while and is difficult to explain quickly and succinctly. All the women he married were widows who were in need, except one. Any instance that I read in the Bible of someone having multiple wives, it only ever caused trouble for them. You think about Jacob, who had multiple wives. What happened? There was tension between the wives. You think about Solomon. He had so many different wives, supposedly. And what happened? It turned him away from God. So having multiple wives is, it's definitely a cause of some problems. And look, I'm not super knowledgeable in Islam about Muhammad and all the different details there. But from what I have seen and heard, I mean, he was just as flawed as any of the rest of us. And there's nothing in particular that he said or did that should have really put him up above the rest of us. But that's my understanding. Or perhaps slight lack thereof. Anyway. Oh, man. But yeah, one thing I would think we can all agree on, especially with regard to this discussion, is that nobody is perfect. At least, nobody has been perfect except Jesus. So, like, we're not all going to perfectly be able to explain things. And we're not all going to be able to perfectly live it out. Which is why, again, I come back to the fact that it's the desire to seek God and to better ourselves that really makes the difference. And as far as only saying something if you're knowledgeable, well, then there are a whole lot of people that should not have any say in anything and shouldn't discuss anything because they don't know about it. But yet, that's the world that we live in. People will say things that they don't know anything about. People will ask for an understanding or a response regarding a certain issue that somebody doesn't have an understanding of. And I can't let my lack of understanding keep me from attempting to engage the conversation and give some sort of an answer based on what I do know. And you say I'm disrespecting your religion by ballpark guessing, and I would say that you might potentially be doing the same with your seeming lack of understanding on what it means to have Jesus die for our sins, to, accept or not accept the gift of salvation, and other such things. You were asking about what I believe, and you're coming in and saying that either you don't understand or that you think that my understanding is wrong. So I've given you what I know and understand regarding to the things that you have asked and the different issues you've presented or whatever. I'm doing the best I can. And that's I would hope that's all that can really be expected of any of us. Said to my understanding. Yeah, like I all along I've been saying, all right, look, this is what I know and understand. I might not be correct in that. I didn't necessarily... There were a couple of different things where I said, correct me if I'm wrong, although that was more so related to how to get stuff working on Twitch. But even with this, like, if I'm wrong on some things, then, hey, I'm open to learning and understanding more. Okay, look. I didn't go. I didn't go into too much detail. I tried to stick to what I had heard or thought I knew regarding Muhammad. Otherwise, it was just a generalization. But yeah, I'll lay off of that because, again, I don't understand all that much. But the main point that I was trying to communicate in all that was that there doesn't seem to be any particular reason to believe Muhammad over and against anybody else. He may have known some things, sure. But, like, there's not a whole lot that seems to set him apart in terms of his behavior and how he lived his life. But, anyway. The monkey emoji, I don't think was targeted at anybody in particular. Anyway, all right. Well, as interesting as this discussion has been, I have other things I need to do today. So, yeah. Let's see here. It seems to me that there isn't too much further that we could progress the conversation while actually, like, getting into any new territory. So it might be a good idea to wrap this up, I'd say. Uh, p- p- hmm. Automod is trying to disallow a message. I don't think it's too bad that it should be disallowed, but it's a little bit aggressive. I'd rather try and keep things peaceful over and against punching somebody, but anyway. Yeah, I didn't mean any disrespect. Was just trying to communicate my understanding of things, and why I would believe one thing over another. So I think the point that Ukulele is trying to make here is that rather than assuming something is meant as insulting when someone's just saying, all right, this is what I heard, this is what I know, the better response would more so be that, you know, you should just inform them of the truth instead of assuming that they're trying to be negative or critical of a particular person over and against any particular thing. But yeah. Anyway, the conversation seems to have kind of devolved a little bit. So yeah, I really think it would be best at this point if I sort of cut things off. Normally I would try to raid, but that would also just carry this discussion potentially over into somebody else's stream. Therefore, I'm not going to do that today. So, I do appreciate the discussion, and I'm open to trying to learn more about things if and when I ever have time to actually, look into it. But, yeah. I think that's going to have to do it for me today. Hopefully we can all continue learning and growing and seeking to, engage each other peacefully, respectfully, and also grow closer to God in some way or another. All right. So, in general, aside from the conversation, hope everybody's doing well. And until next time, stay cool, everybody.